Bonjour, bonjour. Hello all. I am coming to you this morning from inside the Louvre to share with you the amazing Louvre Couture exhibit that they have going on. Runs until it's been extended till the end of August, and it's fantastic. It is on the first floor of the Richelieu wing, which normally is a wing not a lot of people venture to. If you've been here and you've been into the Apartments Napoleon III, this is in that same area, but it's really easy to get to. I'm coming in first thing in the morning, so everybody's racing over to see the Grande Dame, Mona Lisa, and I have the whole place to myself. So when you come to the Richelieu wing, which is if you're looking underneath the pyramid, to the right is the Denon, the left is Richelieu. Come up the escalators, which are right behind me, in the amazing escalator well, all created by I.M. And you just come up here to the first floor. Remember, the first French floor is an American second floor. Or you take up the elevator and you just come straight through here. There's the elevator right there. There's the Angelina on the left. And the first piece you find here, which is very specific because it gives a lot of reference to the exhibit itself and fashion, but doesn't really fit in with the rest of the exhibit, but it's still amazing. And it is this dress. It's this dress by Christian Dior himself. In 1949, the spring summer collection, he created this dress. It was only his third collection that he did following the war. And this one is amazing. This is not the original. The original one that he created was purchased by Gaia Dali, the wife of Salvador Dali, and it's just not in good shape. It's down in Spain, and it wasn't taken care of very well. So they needed to recreate it. So the House of Dior recreated this entire dress, and it's really beautiful. And you could just see all of the details on here with the wool. Me there in the mirror. But it is absolutely stunning. The hat piece was also recreated, which is different from the original drawing that he did of this. And if you follow me on Instagram, I just posted about this a couple days ago with a picture of that original drawing that he did. But it is such a beautiful piece. And the reason it is also here is because the name of the dress is actually the Musée du Louvre, and it was that trompe l'oeil collection, 1949, and it was all based on monuments and streets and everything that's in the city of Paris. So this one is pretty amazing. I tried to see if I could find other pieces from it, just even online, but because of it being from so long ago, there's not a lot out there. But I think the pieces that are here in the exhibit, there's 100 pieces in here. About 25 of those are accessories. Most everything is over the last 20 years, but my favorites I think are Dior, and they're the Galliano years of Dior, because they are just amazing. And I will show you one of those today. So I'm gonna break this up into a few videos and also on the podcast where we'll go into even more detail. But it is broken up into 4 separate sections. And so I'm gonna show you the Middle Ages and the Byzantine period first. So we're gonna hop on into the next room now. So one of the greatest things about this exhibit, it's not just a fashion exhibit, and it's one of the things that I think is really getting overlooked by a lot of the people that have been sharing this and what's going on with the exhibit. The exhibit itself is about art and how art inspires fashion, but Objets d'art. So this is Objets d'art collection is all about antiquities that you have here, like reliquaries. It's about furniture, ceramics, tapestries, everything like that. But it's a conversation. Each piece is selected with something else here in the museum, and it's supposed to kind of show you how that influences each other. And I think that's really getting missed. I think a lot of people just think it's a fashion exhibit, but it's far from just being a fashion exhibit, and it's absolutely extraordinary. It's also a great way for people to come into this section of the museum that normally do not. This is the Middle Ages and Byzantine. So this is two different periods of time that pretty much overlap, starting in the 4th and 5th century, going until 1453 with the fall of Constantinople. And like you see here, some beautiful reliquaries, stained glass, all of this really fantastic stuff. Even still in the exhibit, a lot of people kind of just look at the fashion and keep on going. But I want to show you and give to you an explanation of exactly why so many of these things go together, and it is phenomenal. I have discovered things just myself that I didn't know about some of these pieces, and we'll come back to here, but I'm going to show you the first one in this room, and it is a Versace dress. And it's not just a Versace dress, it is a Gianni Versace dress, which is another amazing thing that this exhibit did by having some of the original designers of these houses and their pieces. And the dress is amazing. But see, you have all these great reliquaries. It would have at one time could have held a piece of a saint or a high official in their church. I'll take you in here. So this stunner of a dress, as I said, Gianni Versace. Not only is it Gianni Versace, it's the last collection that he did. This is from 1997, and this was the autumn winter show. It was shown on July 6, 1997, in the Ritz, where the swimming pool is. They'd covered the swimming pool, created this amazing runway show with the Greek columns and everything, and had this show that had all of this Byzantine influence of golds and silvers. And this dress, they spent more than 6 years trying to figure out how to actually create a metal fabric that would drape beautifully, and they finally did it. And it's this gorgeous dress, and you can see there's topaz in these Greek crosses in here. It's just stunning, in that neckline, which is beautiful on just about anybody. But I love just moving around this dress. When this dress exhibited, it was after this only a few days later, 9 days later, on July 15th, he was killed in Miami. So it's a pretty epic collection in and of itself. But he had gone to the Met, and he had seen this exhibit that was going on in 1997 called The Glory of Byzantium, and he was so inspired by this that he basically created the whole runway show from that inspiration, which is what this exhibit is kind of trying to tell you. And also the fact that, all these things keep repeating. There's no new ideas. There's pieces of jewelry in this section of the museum that you would think came from a haute couture jewelry house today, and it's something that dates back to, the 4th, 5th century, and sometimes even older in the Etruscan section. So they paired it with this fantastic reliquary box that dates back to the 11th century. It would have held a piece of the true cross that Christ was killed on. And it's really amazing. Some pieces of it are missing, but again, you have that the element of the cross and the gold, and the cross is a little bit different, but it is really amazing. I'm going to take you over here now to show you another one that I think is fantastic. So this is another one that I just think is amazing. I was going to try to narrow this down and just highlight a few, but in my usual fashion, I can't do that. I have to go into every single thing. There are accessories in here too, and I'm going to do that another time. I do all the accessories at once. But this dress is Dolce & Gabbana, and it's from 2013 and to 2014. Autumn winter collection, and you see the fantastic mosaic on there, cabochons. This is a pret-a-porter collection, so ready to wear. Most of the exhibit is couture. Couture is everything has to be made by hand, but there are a few pieces that are ready to wear. The Louvre did a fantastic opening event for this in March. It was about a month after the exhibit opened, but it was kind of like their take on the Met Gala, and somebody was actually wearing this dress. But it's really amazing, and they were inspired by a church. It's in Palermo, that is the Cathedral of Montreal, and inside this church is just covered with these golden mosaics. The gold also, you know, think of all the stuff we've covered up in Notre Dame. It's also about the divine light and the gold. And it's really beautiful. But in the center, that woman is the Empress Theodore. She was a wife of Justinian I of Constantinople. Constantinople's a big theme around here. But she was born around 490 in Cyprus. She made her way to Constantinople, and she was a stage performer and a courtesan. She portrayed Leda and the Swan, Leda in the Swan mythological story, where she covered her body with bird seed and let the bird eat the seeds off of her body. And if you know the story of Leda and the Swan, it's of Zeus transforming himself into a swan and seducing her because he thought she was gorgeous. But it is, she ended up being also a courtesan, but she caught the eye of Justinian I and married him and became one of the most powerful women of that period of time. And that they have captured her on the front of this dress. And that, of course, is in a cathedral that's in Palermo, but the Louvre has this fantastic little mask, and so you kind of see the two of them together like this. But this mask came from the Basilica Santa Maria Assunta in near Venice, credited in the 11th or 12th century, and it's all glass and limestone. It's amazing, the details on it. There's more behind us. Here in the center of the room, there's these two pieces that again have all of that beautiful gold, and then the gems and cabochons. This one here is by a Lebanese designer, Rabbi Kairouz. I might be saying his last name incorrectly, but at 16 he moved to Paris to study fashion, and he takes a much different approach to the way he designs. He doesn't do the sketches like a lot of designers do. He kind of just creates it on the body of a mannequin. This, the sweater here, or the top, looks kind of like a sweater, but it's all made of these gold ribbons that are sewn together. And it took this woman in his atelier named Cécile, it took her 4 months just to create that top. And she came here on the opening night of the event. I was here. I wish I would have been here when she came by to see it. But this with this beautiful skirt. This was created for the 2019 collection, and that was the same year he was awarded his haute couture status. And then for this one we have, it's usually a name I try not to say, but I'll say the designer who did it, Karl Lagerfeld, for that name brand that begins with a C. And this is actually a really beautiful piece. I had to say that I did actually love the things that they had in the exhibit done by this house. I'll let you see the name. But it is actually really gorgeous. This was for the special collection that they would do. This was for the 2010, and this collection was called Paris Byzantine, and it was done for the Métier d'Art. And this was a special collection that focuses on all of the high art of all the different elements they put on here, and you could see the beautiful belt. You could zoom in. On the velvet. But keep in mind the look of that belt right there. So with the details of that belt. And this is, I think, one of the pinnacles of the entire Objets d'Art collection, is this sword, and a lot of people just walk right past it. It is the sword of Charlemagne. It was not actually used by Charlemagne because this was created. Parts of it are 8th century all the way up to the 13th century, and it is amazing. And you have the handle there with the dragons. It used to have black stones in their eyes, and they were replaced with pearls, but this has been used by many different kings and emperors. There's paintings of Louis XIV, there's paintings of Napoleon with all of them holding this or with the sword in the painting. And the sheath here that it goes in, this is the oldest part of it, so that belt that attaches, you can see the cabochons in there, which have been changed over periods of time. And then the sheath itself has this velvet. It's kind of hard to get it. It's more of it's a purple now, but it was purple, then it was changed to green, and then eventually back to purple. It was Napoleon that actually had changed it to green, but it is really amazing. There's all sorts of myths and legends about this sword as well, also known as joyau. But I think it's amazing, and you see the influence of the belt coming from here with the stones. And it really is a stunning piece. But if you just take it all, just try every one of these rooms you go into, kind of try to take the whole thing in with the collection around the actual design. The whole thing was incorporated. There was a massive setup to put it together. Olivier Gabet is the curator of the Objets d'Art section. Previously, he was the head of the Musée des Arts Décoratifs. He was there when they created the Dior exhibit that was the precursor to the museum, which is one of the greatest places in Paris. And so he always has had this idea to bring this in. And what's great is, although it took a lot of time, because a lot of these are, these are one-of-a-kind items. These are the items made for the runway, but they just put it into the collection. So this is, when they take this down, there's a window behind here looking into the Corps-Puget. They'll eventually take, at the end of August, take the mirrored steps and structures apart, but everything will stay the same in the rooms afterwards. So it's really amazing. I'd love to see them do something like this with the paintings and sculptures. That would probably have to be an actual exhibit space, because that'd be a little bit more difficult. But there's so many paintings, especially with the House of Dior. There's a lot of paintings that have inspired entire collections at Dior, which I'll go into another time. But this beautiful one here is also a original of Yves Saint Laurent. So it's of the house Yves Saint Laurent, and this one was created by him, and it is beautiful, very simple, kind of a purplish, dark purple velvet, and it has that gorgeous embroidered band across the top. He loved the Louvre. He was in here all the time. He was always inspired by art. He had whole collections where he recreated Picasso paintings on jackets. If you go to his museum that just, unfortunately, is just closed, it's gonna be closed for 2 years, there you go into his old atelier, and that atelier is just stacks and stacks of art books. It's amazing. When he got close to, he had a brain tumor, and when he got closer to death, Pierre Berge, who was his partner, and the doctors decided not to tell him how much time he had left, because it just didn't think he would handle it. So he died in 2008, and he was here. A friend of mine saw him in here just 2 weeks before he died. So he's in here all the time, which I just love. I think it's amazing. But it really is a gorgeous dress. This one was from 1997, 1998, which is kind of a big, there's quite a few of the dresses and pieces in here. They're all 1997, 98, which is actually very interesting as well. But I do love about this is that it's pretty much all things from the last 25, 30 years. The most vintage of all of them is that first dress, which was actually created now, but from 1949. But most everything in here is just in the last 25, 30 years. So a lot of times these exhibits will show you really old couture items, vintage items, but I do kind of love that it is more just the last 25, 30 years. Here you have this amazing reliquary crown. It is the reliquary crown of Liège. This was a gift from Louis IX, future Saint Louis, that he gave to the Dominican convent in Liège in 1267. If you could see each one of them, there is stones all over, and there's little angels, and then behind each, and you can see on the back, this is where they would have put reliquaries, pieces of saints or officials. I don't believe there was ever any in here. Sorry about the glare on this. But it really is. It's beautiful. It dates from 1260 to 1280. But then you see this. See here with the dress. I just love it. Now the next one I'm going to show you is one that I would love to just touch, because you'll see when I show you in 1 second. So there's a lot of this fantastic carved ivory, and this one specifically is called the Descent of the Cross. You of course have, this is when they took Christ down off of the cross. So you have the Virgin in here, you have Mary Magdalene, and it's this beautiful piece, and you could just see how in the ivory, this was goes back to the mid 13th century. You can see here just kind of the way that the fabric is draped on here, and all of these amazing details. Just beautiful. Especially and then if we just go over here to the next room, this is the one that I would just love to touch, because it just looks like, it almost looks like paper. This is a dress. This is one of the newest things in the whole collection, because it's from 2024, 2025. It's by Charles de Vimois. He is just a 28-year-old designer, and this dress is he was inspired by ivory, and it looks like paper. It's silk taffeta. It's just very crumpled. You have seen him before if you watch the opening ceremony of the Olympics. The scenes when they were in the Bibliothèque Nationale, the very bright colored designs were all done by him, and he also did the 2023 Galeries Lafayette Christmas tree in all of the windows. But it's amazing. It's got metal on there, and if you notice here on the back, see if I can zoom in, there's a funny little pouch there on the left. Kind of see that sticking out. This was worn by Chaperone for a live performance, so they had to create that to put for her mic pack, and he left it on and even said he liked that it was there. I've tried to find some pictures or videos of her. Pretty fantastic. But I really just want to touch it and crinkle it, because it just looks like it would be, it almost just looks like paper. It's amazing. And of course there's more. There is one piece over here. Normally at the back, and this is where they have the crown of Charlemagne. That was actually the crown Napoleon used to coronate himself, recreated from the original design of Charlemagne. But these are also other pieces, which I'll do another time when we do the part 2 of the coronation of Napoleon. because this is also the scepter of Charlemagne. It's amazing. But check out this ivory piece here, and all like the details on this are just insane. The apostles. It's amazing. Now I'm going to take you to the next room where there are 4 more pieces, and it's the first of the Dior Galliano dresses. That is very fun. But you have more tapestries. Again, I'm happy to see a few people in here actually looking in the pieces. But normally when the fashion exhibit isn't here, there's nobody in these rooms, and it's really lovely and quiet. But let's go see the next room. There's a few of the rooms and the things that they've created that when you walk in, you're like, oh my gosh, literally takes your breath away. This one here, there's 4 pieces here, 3 of which are specifically inspired by tapestries. Tapestries, I think, are something that's often overlooked in the museums. A lot of people will say, I've had friends say, oh, I've gone in there and I don't really get those, or I don't think they're very interesting. But the stories behind tapestries are amazing, and you have some of these tapestries that date back to the 12th or 13th century. They are created from a carton, which so they're basically an artist will make a piece, and then specifically for the reasons of turning it into a tapestry. And you had these cathedrals and chateaus and that were always very cold and drafty, and these would actually help insulate the walls, keep it a little bit warmer. But they are really beautiful if you look closely at them. And 3 of the pieces in here are specifically influenced by tapestries, one that actually includes tapestries. So I was mentioning the Dior Galliano, which are, I think, my favorites in here, just because they're just so crazy and over the top. And the thing about couture is, again, it's one of a kind. Everything's made by hand, but it's all about fantasy. It's about inspiration. It inspires for other things. You're not going to see somebody wearing this outfit walking down the street, maybe in Paris, but this would inspire other things. There's a great part of Devil Wears Prada where Andy says, I don't understand, those are 2 blue belts, they're the same. And Meryl Streep explains to her, yes, you think they're just 2 normal belts and you think the color is normal, but this was created by, some, huge, Valentino would create this, and then it gets handed down, and now you're buying it in H&M or Zara. So that is true. That is what couture is. All you have to do is watch social media during Fashion Week in Paris or Milan and just see, Schiaparelli is a big one that does these crazy themes, a giant head of a stuffed tiger on a dress that Kylie Jenner's wearing, and it just buzzes everywhere. It just goes all over, and that's basically, they're spending a ton of money to create all these things, but then that's free buzz that's getting talked about for their brand. And then maybe somebody can't afford the Louis Vuitton purse or the YSL dress, but they can maybe go in and buy a scarf, or they can buy something like that. So there's a whole madness behind all of it, but it is pretty amazing. But this first one here, done by Dior Galliano, I just absolutely love it. He was really inspired by this movie that was a 1942 black and white called The Devil's Envoy by Marcel Carme, and it was set in 1485 in a medieval chateau. And it was kind of a dark movie, but you had all these people wearing these period costumes of the 15th century, and he loved it. But he was also, this whole collection that was done, it was for 2006, 2007, autumn, winter, was all of also Joan of Arc, Botticelli, the French actress, Arletty. All of this inspired him, and you could go online and watch the whole show, and I'll link it in my notes for the podcast on my website, ClaudineHemingway.com. It's very grainy, but you go kind of a ways into it to see these pieces. He did a couple with this green kind of almost honeycombish design. And then on the runway, the top, the headpiece with the horns is blue and yellow. And on the runway, the model had one blue leg and one yellow leg, tights, and then the opposite color of shoes. So she had blue and yellow shoes. A few more people coming in here now. This coat here was done by Dries van Noten. He is a Belgian designer who 2024 decided to retire in his 60s, but he came from a long line of tailors. So his grandfather was a tailor, and he was also a stylist, and he loves to incorporate European history and kind of a punk vibe and a little bit of a dash of Japanese style into everything. He did this coat for the 2017 Spring Summer Pret-a-Porter collection, and it's specifically the printed from and used from an old Flemish tapestry, and we don't have that one here in the museum. I'm going to show you one that we do have that's very close to it, that also has an amazing story behind it. So we're going to race over there to go see that, and then we'll come back to the next dress. But it is really beautiful and has a lot of details. I love this little extra piece. It's kind of coming out of the inside and buttoned in there. Let me pop over and show you this tapestry. It's a little bit of ways away, and then we'll come back because the next one is amazing too. So here we have a fantastic example of a 16th century Flemish tapestry. This one is really beautiful. Not the exact one that inspired Dries van Noten, but very close to it. You can see all the beautiful, the leaves, and it's against a wall, so it's getting this filtered natural light coming through, hitting it, and it's just absolutely amazing. But this tapestry itself has quite a story behind it, because it was at one point in the collection of Aaron Gurning. Gurning was the one that was coming through and looting Paris and the mostly Jewish homes and Jewish gallery owners of everything they could to take back. It is said in the provenance of this that he purchased it in 1941 from Madame Meunier Batiflot at the Charpentier Gallery, spotted in a photo from there. And he had it shipped and looted after he took with other looted items to his home outside of Berlin. And that is where, after the war, my favorite, Rose Dallon, discovered it and found it. And the provenance of it is a little iffy because it's here in the museum. It is here, and it's here, and it's in the collection for safekeeping. So someday, hopefully, somebody will step up and say this belongs to their family, and they will get it back. But it is really amazing. In the center there, just go up from the very center. I love that there's a little bird sitting on top. It's really beautiful. I love how it gets the light here. Let me zoom in so you can see a little bit more of the details. It's just amazing. You can see the little birdie up there. But the tapestries, there's 400 tapestries in the collection at the Louvre. It's only about 150 of them on display, which is still quite a few. The room that I'll show you that's about the Renaissance is filled with 12 huge tapestries. And I can't wait to share some of that with you. Look at the details on this. It's just amazing. I love it. But you really can't see how all of this, and so hopefully with this exhibit, people are kind of getting a idea of how so much of art inspires fashion, especially at this period of time. Byzantine still to this day inspires fashion. There's another amazing one. This one I just love, and this is Dior, but it's Maria Grazia. This is 2018-2019 for the autumn winter, which is predominantly most things in here are autumn and winter. But she just actually stepped down in the last week or so from the Dior house, and Jonathan Anderson is stepping up. But she had this, I love this. This is so beautiful, and it's so perfect for, you would think that Dior himself designed the lines of this. It is absolutely gorgeous. And if you look, I'll show you the actual tapestry that she has a copy of in her office that inspired this. But it is printed on here with these flowers. And then there's embroidered animals, and some of the flowers are embroidered as well. But what she added that you don't see in the tapestry are lilies of the valley. And lilies of the valley are very important to the House of Dior. And Christian himself, he had a florist that would grow them all year long because he always had them in his lapel. And his first collections, he'd actually sew them into the hem of each of the dresses. And I love that she added that in here. You can see the little embroidered bunny and flowers. It is so beautiful. I love it. It's so tiny, but the copy, the original of the tapestry that she used is just around the corner. So I'm going to show you that one too. And then we'll come back and look at this tapestry coat that you can see. So this is the tapestry that Maria Grazia had a copy of at Dior. It's called The Concert. Concert's a theme you see a lot in art, especially the Renaissance. There is a painting that inspired Mr. Manet to create Déjeuner sur l'herbe, and it's after a painting by Titian called The Concert. So you have the two figures up there playing musical instruments, and the young lady down here talking to a bird. But this is a Flemish or Northern French tapestry, dates to around the year 1500. But you can see if you look at it, all of the flowers and even the bird against that dark backdrop. So if you look at this and just isolate that, and think about the dress that I just showed you, you could see that exact influence in here of the dress. For the dress, and then she added the lilies of the valley. But it is really gorgeous. And this room has a few other tapestries, all with that same kind of exact theme of the dark background with the flowers and animals. Just look at all this furniture in here. Just the details on this furniture is just, look at that. Just amazing. I can't wait to show you the Renaissance part. Next. So this coat right here is not something that I would normally ever wear. I don't really wear any of these colors. And I would probably just kind of originally just walk right past this. But you have to look at this and just take it apart, take each piece apart. This is done by designer Marine Serra. This is from her 2023-2024 collection, and she takes a lot of pieces. She'll take like old t-shirts and then cut them apart and recreate things and sell them for a crazy amount of money on their website. But this piece is actually, she collected these tapestries and even needle points and carpets in the south of France and had it created into a coat. And if you look at it, it's got a lot of animals. So you see the dogs. You also have a horse, but the arms of it are copies of the lady with the unicorn. That's the originals are the Clooney, you can see right there. But I really love this one that's underneath her arm. Just looks like something, it almost looks inspired by David or Manet, with the black lines kind of around it. But it's, look at that with the dog. I think it's just amazing. And this was also her ready to wear. She started as an intern in fashion with Alexander McQueen while he was still alive. Then she moved on to Dior and Balenciaga before she started creating her own collection. And she actually had won the LVMH Young Designer Award. And I think it's fantastic. Underneath it, you can see the crescent moon. It's like a unitard underneath it, and that's her emblem, the crescent moon. And of course, I think of that as Henry II and Diane de Poitiers, because they loved the crescent moon, because it's also the emblem of Diana, the goddess, which she also, with this, she kind of wanted to do this as almost like a modern day armor for a woman, like a Joan of Arc, with all of this, which you could definitely get that feeling with it. It's amazing. I love it. But we're the next part of it, of museum, of the exhibit, is about the Renaissance, and we will cover that next time. But I'm going to just pop you in through here. You can see for a second they have a great video here. There's also a whole video that was made that was on YouTube that you could find. But it starts, then it goes into the Renaissance, the exhibit does, and then you also have where it goes into more the 18th century, and then ends in the Apartments Napoleon III, the so-called, as the Louvre calls it, the so-called Apartment Napoleon III, and that is where you have some of my very favorite pieces. But the collection here, the Objets d'Art, is just amazing. You have pieces that came from churches, from other museums. Obviously, you know, this one is broken a bit. 15th century, more tapestries, but nobody really comes over here. It's been fantastic for the museum to get people to come over here to see the collection. It's been very, very successful. The Louvre, like any other museum, is trying to figure out a way how to keep the growth of the museum and get younger people to come, because more and more, you know, there's no attention span anymore, and a lot of people don't want to come to the museums. And so, you know, except to see the Mona Lisa. So the Louvre, like all the other museums, are trying to figure that out. The Louvre with Laurence, who's the first female director of the Louvre. She is really into adding music, theater, dance into it. So they've done a lot of things with that since she took over a few years ago. And then this has been a fantastic way to get the Louvre in the news for something other than the Mona Lisa. But I definitely implore you to come to this section of the museum, even if you're coming after the exhibit closes at the end of August. Just come in here and just look at everything. Read the plaques. Sometimes what's so interesting is where it came from, what chateau it came from. It's actually so fascinating what you could learn in here. So I will leave it there today. Also check out the podcast where I'll go into deeper information on some of these things, and then I'll see you again hopefully that next week. It's a really busy time with clients right now. Hopefully next week with more of this exhibit about the Renaissance, and I will see you then.